So I am here in Bratislava in Slovakia. You can see behind me, it is Christmas time. It's an interesting one here with Christmas because it's a bit of a mixed bag. You get a lot of Christmas festivities and songs, Christmas markets, much as you do across Europe. But the difference here is Christmas Day itself, how we would think of it at least in the UK or America or anything like that. That's actually the more subdued day. A lot of the celebration is happening either on the 24th, which is kind of their Christmas Day here, or afterwards on the lead up to New Year's. So it's a lot of fun, there's a lot of people around, and one of the big advantages as well, if you come out on, say, Christmas Day, where back in the UK everything is closed, and maybe you've forgotten a toothbrush, maybe you haven't eaten that day, whatever it is, if you come out into the right parts of Bratislava, you will be able to interact with several different shops, restaurants, pubs, and still have a really good time, even if you haven't planned anything in advance. Now, something you'll find if you're in that big touristic part of Old Town Bratislava is the various quirky and kind of cheeky statues that were brought in and installed here back in 1997. Now, this was a few years after the independence of Slovakia, and basically they are ways of differentiating between their old kind of grey communist look and what they were hoping to then become, with kind of cheeky, fun, quirky statues all over the city and Old Town. Now, one of the most famous is, of course, the Man at Work, or Camille the Watcher. His true purpose is somewhat of a mystery, as some people think he's looking at women's skirts. Some people think he's just a typical communist watcher who's decided that looking out on the world is far better than his normal work, but it's actually the most photographed image in the whole of the city. It's something you should come along and just take a look at. You'll find that his cap is very much polished from people touching it for good luck and everything else. So definitely give it a go and look out for those other statues that are spotted throughout the city. Just here at Wild Elephants in the city of Bratislava, I am in Old Town. Now, this is really nice hostel. It's decent beds, decent space. So as you can see here, plenty of space for you to sit, to chill out, to kind of spread out, as well as lockers and just a decent vibe from the room in general, as opposed to what you can get in a lot of places where it's just very small, very damp, and not necessarily somewhere you want to be spending that much time in. It's just getting your head down. But Wild Elephants is definitely different there. Now, one thing that should be mentioned is if you are going to Bratislava and you're looking for someone to stay, and you're up for the hostels, I always say to go for the hostels. If anyone's seen my other videos, you will see that, I think it's cheaper. I think it's great vibes. You can interact with people a lot more and actually kind of make your trip a lot better. Now, one thing that should be mentioned, I absolutely say everyone should come and hang out at Wild Elephants, but it isn't for everyone. Wild Elephants is expressly kind of a party hostel. It's somewhere where you expect loud noises, you expect a bit of raucous behaviour. So if that's not for you, do not go for Wild Elephants. But if you are up for a laugh, if you're up for going and playing beer pong randomly, if you're up for the drinking games and maybe a techno club, then Wild Elephants is absolutely where you should be. But if you're on the other side, Wild Elephants actually has two sections. So at the back of the hostel, it has mild elephants. So you can still come and get that great vibe, get the great interaction from the volunteers and everything here. Have the bar that you can still, of course, visit, but it is a lot quieter. There's no massive encouragement to party and all that kind of stuff. So you can still have a really good time and a really good interaction with who is here, whilst maybe getting your head down a little more often than those of us in wild elephants. But it is important to remember the distinction, because it's just going to make your time here so much better. If you're someone that wants to go have some fun, maybe it's Christmas time, maybe it's New Year, maybe it's your birthday, whatever it is, and you want to go for wild elephants, make sure you click on wild, because that's the one you want. So you will see a stark contrast when you come to somewhere like Bratislava, because we're in Old Town. You can see from the buildings, very nice, very traditional. There's a nice big church behind me, and even up on the hill behind me, which you can't quite see because they're doing some construction, there is the Harad, probably butchering that, with the Harad Castle. Very traditional, very old school, hence Old Town. And yet to that direction, you can see metal and skyscrapers as much as we get them in Europe, but very tall buildings and metal. It's a very stark contrast. Basically, once you go across the bridge, you go from old into new. I say, if you're here in Bratislava, you're going to see some amazing architecture around here, and buildings that date back centuries with some serious historical importance. Now behind me we have the Provincial Palace. This was where there was the signing of the Peace of Pressburg, where Napoleon's forces had beaten the Russians and the Austrians, and so this was where there was the signing of the Peace of Pressburg, ending the War of Coalition and meaning that Austria had to secede several territories that Napoleon had won. So this was where the Holy Roman Emperor had to sign over after that defeat. Now today it is simply the seat of the mayor of Bratislava, and certainly if I was in office I would want to be spending my days in a building like this. So although you'll find here in Slovakia that Christmas is taken far more for family, kind of more Slovak tradition, and not necessarily about the pomp and circumstance and commercialism as generally it is in the rest of the world, you still can't avoid a good Christmas market, and you will find some amazing traditional food here, as well as artisan objects and everything in between. And there are at least 3 or 4 of these markets, and they are a decent size, scattered throughout just Bratislava, and then you can find them further afield as well. But they are a wonderful little walk to have during the Christmas period, and they are far less bustling in terms of riotous kind of noise and everything like that you might find, to say, if you were in Germany. So it's always an interesting little walk through during the Christmas period to see what kind of local traditional foods and everything else you can find. So one thing that I find so disappointing when I'm travelling is how many people will visit a country, visit a city for 2-3 days, and that's it. They're done. For them, they have embraced and seen all they need to. But of course, this is never the case. I tend to stay in a country, in a city, for a week, even just a minimum, and sometimes, in fact, oftentimes, many months at a time when I'm there, so that I can embrace, I can see what is to offer there, and what I might enjoy just about the country in general, not as a tourist, not looking for a specific thing, but as a traveller going through. So if you enjoy somewhere, go back a second time, go back a third time. Find a time that you and your partner may want to visit. Come back at a different time of year. For instance, the last time I was here in Bratislava, it wasn't Christmas, but as you can see quite clearly from behind me now, it is. You see something different, you see a different part of the culture in different times of year, during big events and everything in between. So never just give it the top layer wipe over when you visit. Actually embrace and embed and enjoy yourself even more, because truly you actually really will. So if you're in Bratislava, Old Town as I am now, you will come across this wonderful memorial that celebrates, or I suppose better to say, it remembers the Slovak national uprising of August 29th, 1944. Armed civilians basically created a resistance, and they fought back against fascism and protected the town and their way of life. In fact, on the memorial wall, the words translate as, "Remember you who live the year 44, when those condemned to death rose against fascist death. Faithful sons with bare chests protected their mother. They fought until dawn, which lit the horizons of Stalingrad." And it's just a wonderful remembrance of a time when this city, this country, fought back against the grips of fascism that they had been brought into during World War II. Well, for many, Christmas and the holiday period, you've got to have some snow, and here in Bratislava it certainly hasn't disappointed. It has been very, very cold though, so if you are planning to come to Bratislava or anywhere in this part of Europe for this time of year, definitely remember your gloves and wrap up warm. 3, 2, 1.